What is up, beautiful people? It's your girl Alyssa Shay, and we are back for another video. I know I've been gone for a long time, and really that is the last time I'm gonna say this. I have decided that I am back on the YouTube train. I'm doing these videos because I actually enjoy it. But in this video, I'm kind of gonna give you a behind the scenes of my life, why I went MIA for so long, and really just how I'm getting myself back on track. But if you're new here, I would like to say welcome. Don't forget to turn on that notification bell and subscribe to my channel so you know every time I'm posting and every time a new video is going to be coming out. Today is another video in the Let's Talk series. Can we just talk? So I'm going to be talking about a book I just read. It is called Relationship Goals by Michael Todd. And I kind of want to explain my journey with reading this book, and also what some of the things that I've kind of been struggling with. So let's just jump into the video. So this all kind of started with me finishing grad school. So last December I graduated St. John's, and I know I talked about in a couple of my videos that I was studying integrated advertising communications, and that was literally the most challenging thing I've ever done. And I'm kind of gonna make a video about my whole grad school experience, but as soon as I finished school, I just went into this deep, dark slump where I was just so upset and depressed and didn't really understand what I was supposed to do next. I felt like I was kind of trapped in this idea of oh, I'm gonna go to school and the next year is gonna be school and it's gonna be this continuous cycle. But once that cycle ended, I had to figure out something else to do. So I knew a couple of months ago that I wanted to find another pastor, right? So I was raised in a church, born and raised. I was christened, got baptized, accepted God as my Lord and Savior, everything the typical Christian would do. But I didn't feel like I was accurately comprehending the word at my home church, and I wanted to find a pastor that was a little bit younger, had a different way of explaining the Bible, and I couldn't find someone, and I went months without, especially because of COVID, I went months without going to church, which was very weird to me because I would go every Sunday. So I decided to go on Google, and I was putting in everything, from young pastors, youth pastors, kind of trying to find someone, and I was talking to my friends about it, I was talking to my mom, just really trying to find someone because I felt like that's what was missing out of my life. And of course you might say that you could just read the Bible, or you could just listen to some gospel or whatever and go that route, but I felt like I enjoy going to church and listening to the word and that aspect of it. So I just happened to stumble upon Transformation Church, and I was like, what is this? So I went on Instagram, typed it in, that's so typical, but went on Instagram, typed it in, and I saw a couple reels, but then this guy's face looked really familiar, and I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool, maybe I'll check it out the next Sunday. The Sunday came, and I believe it was their anniversary service, or maybe it was the week before. And I was like, I love this. I love this church. I think I found it. They had praise and worship right before, and I felt like I was missing that musical aspect when watching other churches online. And I realized that he wrote relationship goals. So I was texting one of my friends at the time, and I was like, hey, have you ever, he was like, oh, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm watching church. And he was like, oh, who are you watching? So I was like, Transformation Church. And he was like, oh, Michael Todd. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, did you read his book? And was talking back and forth or whatever. And he ended up having the book and gifted it to me. So shout out to Poppy. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then it took me a while to just really get started on the book, because I just assumed that it was just going to be like about being in relationships and learning how to date and just the typical, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm kind of going to talk about more so some of the things that I've been watching. I've literally been watching for the past month now, and they started off when I started watching. They were in this Anchored series, and now they're in Paper Chasers. And I just kind of want to talk about some of the things that like really like clicked in my head once I started watching, and then also like some of the important topics that the book has that I want to share with you guys. I won't give away all the secrets, because I definitely think this is a book that you guys all should read. It really will change the way that you think about things, the way that you perceive your relationships, or even like your family or the relationships that you look up to. Maybe they might not be as accurate to what like the Bible is saying, right? So let's first start talking about the service. So once I started watching, the first like thing that Pastor Todd said that instantly clicked in my head, which was like, you need to continue watching these services, was what matters in the calm doesn't matter in crisis. And that just stuck out to me so much, because I was going through so much like pain and trying to figure out my life and trying to find a job and all this like apprehension and anxiety and like everything that came with finishing school. Like, it's true that the things that we kind of worry about when everything's all good and we're sailing through life and everything's all happy, that once crisis hits, it's like, well, forget all of that. Forget YouTube. Forget Instagram. Forget everything that everyone else is saying. Like, I need to try and figure out my life. I need to be happy again. So how am I going to do that? Right? And another thing that he said was, God doesn't provide to who you pretend to be, but who you really are. And I feel like with social media, it's very easy for us to fall into these like kind of traps to trying to live a certain way or act a certain way. And God sees you how you actually are, and how you like not how you want to perceive yourself. He knows the real, the raw you. It's kind of like honey, right? You don't need the artificial flavors. He sees you as the raw like species. So it's like, he's not going to provide for this persona. He's not going to let you live this life of glitz and glamour if that's not who you really are, right? So we have to try and understand that like we have to be our authentic self, because that's when we're going to start seeing the miracles. That's when we're going to start seeing the blessings happening in our lives. And that's when I knew that like I need to take a break from social media. I need to take a break from YouTube, and until that I'm able to accurately live my life to its fullest and be who I genuinely am. And that's when I'll start seeing these blessings, right? And then the last point that I just kind of want to talk about is because I mentioned that he was doing the Anchored series, which they're all on YouTube. You guys can just type in Transformation Church and you'll see all the whole series, which was a phenomenal series that I think you guys all should watch. But he says you don't need an anchor if you're going to live in the shallow. So the purpose of the series is that understanding that we need to go deeper into our faiths. We need to find God and do the things that really like connect us to and to have that relationship with God. But if you're not trying to go deeper, if you're not trying to live a blessed life, then you don't need to anchor. You don't need to anchor on something that is unshakable like God. You can just live your life freely and do whatever you want, and then when the days comes when you reach those pearly gates and God asks you, what have you done with the life that I've given you, then you have some answering to do, right? So I definitely think you guys should watch those series. You'll get a whole bunch from it, and it will be beneficial. But let's now get into the book. So first of all, this is a super easy read. It's about 180 pages, not very long, and The words aren't hard. It's like super easy. But when I was watching a service one day, he had brought up the book, and he mentioned that this book is actually written in 60 different languages and is New York Times #1 bestseller, and over 500,000 books have been sold already. So yes, that sounds great, like a bunch of books have been sold, but he brought up the point that you need to think about that's 500,000 homes that book is now in. Like, now 500,000 families are understanding how you need to raise your children, how you need to deal with your spouse, and how to go on with relationships, and how you learn to date, and not just recreational dating, but dating with intentions. Yeah, the first thing that I want to talk about in the book is it's easy to just say, oh, this book is about relationships. I'm going to learn how to date. I'm going to learn what it means to be a great husband or wife, whatever. But what you fail to see on the surface is that this is a book that teaches you how to build a relationship with God first, right? So God needs to be our center, whereas, like, so let's say, for instance, a guy and a girl are dating, right? The guy needs to have a relationship with God, and the girl needs to have a relationship with God, and then and only then will they be ready to date each other, right? So having that relationship and building that relationship is essential, because God's plan is bigger than the plan that you think you have for yourself. You think that everything is just cool. The next 5 years I'm going to be doing this, and I'll be married, and I have kids and everything. You have it all written out, huh? But God may say, that's not what's going to happen. Until you're deciding to be angered on me and mature and do the work that I'm asking you to do, you may not be married for the next 10 years. You may be in a city that you may not even think you would be in. But God always has a plan for us, you know? And another thing that stuck out to me was this quote that he has said. He said, if you quiet the cries of culture, you might hear the Holy Spirit whispering, right? So when I decided to stop YouTube, and I decided to tone down my Instagram intake and watching more things to get me closer to God on television, and not the, like, reality TV shows, like, I was able to actually form a relationship, like a deeper relationship with the Lord. And actually, even recording this video is such a big step for me, because I typically don't talk about going to church or being a Christian. It's not that I'm ashamed of it or anything. It's just that I just never been the type of person, or I felt in myself that I never had a strong enough understanding to want to talk about it, right? But now I feel like I have grown so much closer to my religion that it's easy for me to make this video and talk about the importance of reading this book, to going to church, to being centered and having a anchor that is so strong and so unmovable, and will do anything, even if you do mess up, even if you do fall short sometimes. It's forgiving and loving, and we just have to go to him and be vulnerable and let him know that we're sorry and it will never happen again, you know, type thing. So that's kind of what my outlook was on that. So Pastor Todd talks about recreational dating. That's when we, like, go out. It's just like not with no intentions, no goal, no ending. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna do this for now type thing, right? That is never going to deliver on the promises, right? You're always gonna come out of those types of relationships heartbroken, not feeling fulfilled. It's not going to have any purpose, because you're not going in there with any intentions, right? So figuring out how to date intentionally. So you're probably like, Alyssa, what does that even mean? But I have the answer for you. So when you want to date intentionally, you are talking about your relationship fears. What are you nervous about? What are some things that make you uncomfortable? Some things that you need to discuss with them so they know, like, not to do, or how that may make you feel, right? And the first step really is to build a friendship, because you get to understand better what a certain person is looking for, right? The next thing is agreeing on boundaries. So that could be anything, and it's all up to you on what you decide that those boundaries are, right? But it has to be a form of agreement. And if that's like, oh, we won't go to each other's house for the first 90 days, or when you drop me off, we stay at the car and I walk inside, you don't follow me to the door, or it really depends on the person and what they think that their boundaries should be. And lastly is having focused conversations. So not just the whole, oh, what's your favorite color? Like, having conversations of matter, of substance, that you're going to actually get to know the person. That is the most important part. And then I had posted this on my Instagram one day, and so many people were like, oh, what book is that? Like, what are you talking about? It's There's No Condom for Your Heart, right? And I thought that was like super funny, because when people have sex, they think, oh yeah, I'm having protected sex because I'm wearing a condom, right? But then once the sex is over and the person, both parties, right, walk out the door, there's no type of protection of like your heart. You end up heartbroken. You end up having a broken spirit, and then you have these broken relationships. And you think about like, man, what could I have done to protect myself from being in a situation like that? And that's what intentional dating is, and helps you understand that like that is the protection that you need to have for your heart and guard it. Because listen, man, relationships are tough, and they're going to possibly break you down, right? So that's why you have to have this type of like armor on your heart. Not saying you need to be guarded, but saying that you have to know what's right for you, and know that whatever your plan may be, God may have a different plan for your life, right? So the last thing, like kind of to ending of the book, we hear from Pastor Natalie, which is Pastor Todd's wife, and she talks about the keys to a successful marriage and taking aim, right? And I won't go too much into that because I do want you guys to read the book. But those tips really don't just help you in a marriage, but also can help in a relationship, right? And I think that was super helpful hearing from like a woman's perspective, because sometimes it's cool to hear like a guy talk to a woman, and you're reading things, right? That's why you hear like half the books like Think Like a Man and type of thing. But sometimes hearing things from a woman can give more like a better insight, and think like, okay, well, if she's doing that, I can do it as well, right? So I really appreciated like her section in the book. But overall, I would say the most important thing that I've gained from Transformation Church, Michael Todd, everything, I would say, is from last week's sermon, and that is to be a conduit of joy. And I sent a text to my family group chat over the weekend, and I ended my text with be a conduit of joy. And I hope this video can help you spread joy to your family and friends, and I hope that this made you happier, or gave you a taste of what your life can be in relationships. And even if you decide to check out Transformation Church, or you decide to read the book, I think it's a great decision. Doesn't matter what religion you are. I think that it can touch so many people, and it does a great job of understanding what your life could be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos like this, where I'm kind of just really talking to you about my life and my understanding of things. And yeah, I told you guys I'm going to make another video about my grad school experience, but I have so much more content already planned for you guys. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification button so you know every time that I post, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters!